In 1971, Pakistan lost half its country. Its eastern command surrendered. Bangladesh was born, and Pakistan's navy was driven out of the Bay of Bengal. For more than 5 decades, the message from history seemed clear for Pakistan. Islamabad stayed away from the Bay of Bengal. But now Pakistan says it wants to return, and it wants to return underwater, armed with Chinese-built submarines, backed by Chinese technology, and aided by its improving ties with Bangladesh. A senior Pakistani Navy officer, Commander Omar Farooq, has openly said that Pakistan's newly inducted Hangor-class submarines could help maintain a presence in the Bay of Bengal. That is not just a naval statement, it is a strategic signal. So why is Pakistan suddenly talking about the Bay of Bengal? Can it actually operate there? And why will India be watching very closely? The comments came from Commodore Omar Farooq while escorting Pakistan's newest submarine, PNS Hangor, back home from China. Now, Farooq described the submarine as a game changer, but it was another remark that drew attention. He said that the Hangor-class fleet would allow Pakistan to maintain a presence in the Bay of Bengal. Now, military officers do not casually discuss deployment ambitions, particularly not in strategically sensitive waters. The Bay of Bengal is more than 2,000 kilometers away from Pakistan's main naval bases. So for decades, the Pakistan Navy has focused almost entirely on the Arabian Sea. So when a senior officer publicly talks about operating in India's eastern maritime neighborhood, it immediately raises questions about intent. And perhaps even more importantly, about who is helping make that ambition possible. And we will get to that, but first let's talk about the submarine itself. PNS Hangor is the first of 8 Chinese-built Hangor-class submarines that Pakistan plans to induct. The program is worth an estimated $4 to $5 billion. The submarines are based on China's Type 039A design and come equipped with air-independent propulsion or AIP. What basically AIP does is that it allows a submarine to remain underwater for much longer periods without surfacing, which means greater stealth, greater endurance. For Pakistan, 8 of these modern submarines represent its most ambitious naval modernization program in decades. And for China, it is another example of how Beijing is helping expand Pakistan's military capabilities. And let's be clear, this is not just about Pakistan, it is also about China. The Hangor-class submarines are Chinese designed, Chinese built, and part of a much larger relationship between Beijing and Islamabad. China has steadily expanded its footprint across the Indian Ocean, from Gwadar in Pakistan to infrastructure projects in Myanmar to its growing influence across South Asia. Beijing's objective is very simple: create strategic options around India. Now, a Pakistani submarine operating in the Bay of Bengal would not be a Chinese submarine, but it will serve many of the same strategic purposes. It will create another pressure point for India, another source of surveillance, another challenge for Indian naval planners, and it would increase Chinese influence in a maritime region that India considers vital to its national security. Because the Bay of Bengal is not just another body of water, it is one of the most strategically important maritime spaces in Asia. Major shipping routes pass through it, energy supplies transit these waters, and it connects the Indian Ocean with Southeast Asia. For India, the Bay is central to its Act East policy, its maritime security architecture, and its military planning. India's Eastern Naval Command is headquartered in Visakhapatnam. The Bay of Bengal is also home to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. arguably India's most important strategic outpost. For decades, India has enjoyed overwhelming naval superiority in these waters. Pakistan was simply not part of the equation. Now Islamabad wants to insert itself into that equation, even if it's symbolically at first and with just one submarine. We don't know when the rest 7 will come, but it's still a challenge that is ready to expand. And this is where things become particularly interesting, because geography is Pakistan's biggest challenge. The Bay of Bengal is far from Karachi. Maintaining a sustained presence there would be difficult unless Pakistan develops stronger partnerships closer to the Bay, which brings us to Bangladesh. Relations between Dhaka and Islamabad have warmed noticeably in recent months. Direct flights have resumed, trade has expanded, military contacts have increased, Pakistani warships have visited Bangladeshi ports. Senior naval officials have exchanged visits, and reports of defense cooperation have multiplied. Now, Bangladesh has not announced any plan to host Pakistani submarines, nor has it publicly supported such deployments. But from Pakistan's perspective, even improved access and diplomatic goodwill make operations in the region far easier. For India, that changing dynamic is impossible to ignore, because it comes at a time when China already enjoys significant influence in Bangladesh. Suddenly, a strategic triangle we see is beginning to emerge: China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and all of it unfolding near India's eastern coastline. But can Pakistan really challenge India? The short answer is no, at least not anytime soon. India remains the dominant naval power in the Bay of Bengal. Its Eastern Naval Command is hugely larger than Pakistan's. Its surveillance capabilities are stronger, its anti-submarine warfare network is far more mature, and the Andaman and Nicobar Command gives India a unique strategic advantage. So a handful of Pakistani submarine patrols will not change that balance. But military strategy is not always about changing the balance overnight. Sometimes it is about creating complications, forcing an adversary to divide attention, expanding reach, signaling intent. That is what makes Commodore Omer Farouk's remarks important. Not because Pakistan is suddenly about to dominate the Bay of Bengal, but because Islamabad is openly declaring that it wants to return to waters that it lost access to in 1971.